Eastern cultures have always integrated nature more firmly into religious life. In Hinduism, the forces of nature are even thought of as gods. An ancient and vast religion, Hinduism is subtle in its complexities. It is unique among major world religions in that it has no founding figure, is not run by a centralized hierarchy, and has no universally agreed creed. Most Hindus follow a code of ritual, prayer, and worship recorded in the collection of sacred books called the Vedas. And all Hindus believe in one supreme divine deity, Brahman, who is worshipped through the many lesser gods who reflect aspects of his personality.
Hinduism is really a religion which expects to have miracles happening all the time. Not only are divinities all over the place, so the sacred is not rigidly defined, is not something that's necessarily separated from the everyday in terms of being placed in a church or in a particular priest or whatever. There are many gods and there are many miracles that can occur.
One of the greatest deities of Hindu faith is the god Vishnu. He is associated with preserving and regenerating life, and is reborn on earth whenever humans have got themselves into difficulties and need his help and protection. Many thousands of years ago, Vishnu was incarnated as Krishna, a legendary figure who then became a god in his own right. His transcendental home at Vrindavan is regarded by pilgrims as a paradise on earth. By the 14th century, however, Krishna's good influence had faded. Hinduism had become rigid and highly formalized. Hindus were confined within a restrictive caste system, animal sacrifice was commonplace, and in a practice called suti, widows were obliged to throw themselves on the blazing funeral pyres of their husbands. The time had come for Krishna to reappear on earth as one of the greatest miracle workers in Indian history. Krishna was reborn in Bengal in the year 1486. The moon is said to have hidden her face in shame at the birth of this most perfect child. His earthly name was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
When he was a young man, he was just an ordinary person, and he seems to have experienced a kind of conversion at about the age of 24. He had been a married man, but after that he became an ascetic. And he became a very, very powerful, passionate ascetic. He was well known for kind of almost roaring out his faith.
Chaitanya liberated devotees from the burdens of caste and ritualistic sacrifice and released new vital energy within Hinduism. When he undertook a pilgrimage to Krishna's shrine at Vrindavan, he began to reveal his divine identity by performing miracles. In one particular village along the route to Vrindavan, Lord Chaitanya came across a man who was crippled and disfigured by the disease of leprosy. When the reincarnated deity embraced the sick man, the leprosy miraculously left his body and he was cured.
Lord Chaitanya is quite an important figure in the development of devotionalism, in the historical understanding of devotionalism in Hinduism, because Lord Chaitanya's way of expressing his devotion, expressing his religiosity, was through ecstatic forms of behavior. The singing, for example, of religious hymns, the name of God in procession, the Sankirtan as it is called, or laughing and clapping and swooning with joy and ecstasy. And there wasn't a great emphasis on this before Lord Chaitanya's time.
Lord Chaitanya often spent time in the forests around Vrindavan, praising and celebrating the god Krishna. His infectious chanting echoed all over the forest, and soon the animals began to respond in a miraculous way. The roars and cries of the jungle were hushed, and all the animals began to chant and sing with Chaitanya. Even the wildest beasts of all were tamed, as the chorus of the forest cried out to Krishna as one. Like all the great miracle workers, Chaitanya was a reformer. His miracles were to strengthen the faith of his followers, never to glorify himself. Like Jesus Christ, the founder of the Christian religion, he performed miracles out of a sense of great compassion for those around him. Once, when two of his followers complained of being hungry, they asked for fresh mangoes. There were no mango trees in the region, but Chaitanya solemnly planted a mango seed in the ground. Before his companions' astonished eyes, there arose a full-grown mango tree, complete with succulent fruit.
The laws of nature are not suspended, they're speeded up like a fast film, as it were. In other words, the presence of God within the seed and within the tree and within the elements of nature bursts out, as it were, in this speeded up process. And that's the miracle, that's the wonder of it. Whereas in the Christian tradition, God is regarded as very different, very other from the world and from human beings. There's a huge gulf fixed between the infinite and the finite. And therefore miracles are regarded as a suspension of laws, a kind of intervention.
After Jesus Christ had spent a long day preaching to the multitudes, he realized that they were hungry. Out in that isolated place, there were just 5 loaves and 2 fresh fish to share. Jesus blessed the food, and as the baskets passed among the people, the food multiplied again and again until at least 5,000 people had been fed. In such Christian miracles, the laws of nature are simply overturned to create more out of less.
It was not clearly the burgeoning or the growth or the hastening of laws of nature, as in the Hindu tradition.